Welcome back into a special edition of Rounding Third podcast. I'm Nick. We got Harrison and Sean.
What's up, fellas?
How we doing, boys?
It's been an awesome trip so far, sort of. I mean, it's been great hanging out with these guys, but we'll get right into it. So we started Friday night in Baltimore, Camden Yards. Sean plays the parlay bet that the three of us kind of decided on. We hit them all. What were the three again?
So it was Bradish over 5.5 Ks.
Yep. And he got that in like the third inning, I think.
Yeah, it was Bradish 4.5 Ks. It was
Rushman for a hit.
Rushman with one hit, and the Orioles had to
Orioles
win by 2.
to win by 1.5. Right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's what it was.
Yeah. And we
Rushman
got
for a hit. Yeah, that's right.
so you got Bradish got the Ks in like the third inning.
Third inning.
Adley Rushman got a hit in his first at bat, and then the Orioles had a heck of a rally to end up winning that game 6-3. So
Yeah, it was great.
Oh my god.
It was great.
And then, I mean, that game was really cool. It was my first trip to Camden Yards.
Mine too.
Yeah, Harrison's first trip. That ballpark's amazing. I mean,
Best in the business.
yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody I've talked to, they said that's their favorite one too.
Best
Amazing.
in the business.
And it's so cool because for somebody like me who's seen a lot of the older ballparks, what I loved about Camden Yards and also Nationals Park, which we'll get to, is the fact that it's like part of the neighborhood. You park, you come and kind of walk in off the street right in the ballpark. Everything just kind of flows seamlessly. It's a whole experience. Versus Fenway, where you get kind of taken off the street, shoved underneath, and then you find a seat.
Yeah, I mean, it's new ballpark versus old ballpark.
Absolutely.
Like, it's hard to hold it against Fenway. It's been around for a billion years.
Right.
But yeah, man, Camden's my favorite, and it's really not relatively close.
No, it was
As
cool.
far as like the ballparks, other ballparks, Camden Yards it's my favorite one. It's an awesome place to watch a game, and the fans are great. And it's like finally, like the O's are good.
Yeah.
So it's like that is even extra fun. But like even years ago when the O's were bad, like it's still a fun place to go and sit with Oriole fans and watch games. So
Yeah, great. And it doesn't look like there's a bad seat in the whole place.
No,
Like everything's comfortable. Everything's easy to access.
Yeah.
Really, really impressive. And it was a freaking perfect night for baseball.
Oh, it was so great. And then witnessing my first witness seeing Cedric Mullins hit for the cycle.
in person. I mean, we've
In
seen it on
person.
TV.
Right.
Right.
I've never
Nope.
coached one. I've never seen one. I've never had a teammate do it. I've obviously never hit one because I can't hit a triple.
I hit one.
Yeah, Sean's hit a cycle. I've never hit a cycle. To see one in person was awesome, and to end it with a home run. Like the
And
home
not
run
just
was
see-
the last one.
And the old lady 2 rows behind us
Yeah.
called it. Like
Yeah,
2
it's
pitches before,
crazy.
she's like, "Oh, he's a home run away from the cycle."
Yeah.
2 pitches later, gone. So that was
Yeah,
awesome.
it was amazing. And we had some Pirates fans behind us, very passionate
They were
Pirates
all good,
fans.
though. They were all good people.
But good
Mhm.
people. We had
It
a
was
great
fun.
time in that section. Good mix of. There are actually quite a few Pirates fans in town, which makes sense on like a 4-hour drive.
Sure.
A lot of Pirates fans around us, a lot of Orioles fans. We were clearly the out-of-towners, but they had no problem with us. It was a great area, a great group to sit around.
Yeah, it was fun.
game.
Yeah, that was a blast. And then we move on to yesterday, and it's like off and on showers. We kind of drive down from Baltimore. We walk around the National Mall for a little bit, go to a couple museums, kind of kill some time before the 4:15 start. And it's like spitting throughout the day.
Yeah.
And we're like, all right, like should clear out before game time. We get in there. They play the first inning. It was misting,
Spitting a
maybe
little bit.
spitting a little
Sprinkle.
bit. And then the second inning, it started coming down. And they probably should have stopped playing in the second, and they played through it.
No. What they should have done
Well,
was
right.
at 2:00 say this is going to be a 7 p.m. start.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
agree.
they should have done.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the radar showed there was going to be rain for like 3 hours right in there. Like
Yeah, I mean,
4 to 7 was going
it's
to be
pretty
rain.
obvious that what they were trying to do was start it during the rain, hope it didn't get so bad, get 5 innings in, make it a full game, and then move on.
Yep.
That's what they were trying to do.
Yep.
And it backfired on them.
Yeah, you can't beat Mother Nature. You
Yeah,
can't
it-
race Mother
It
Nature.
backfired on them.
No. So Mets and Nationals yesterday, they get through 2.5. So
Not
after the top of the third. Oh, not
No,
even
we're in
right.
the top
in the
of the
top
third,
of the third. That's right. It just starts coming down. There's puddles everywhere. They were trying to rescue it with quick dry before they canceled it or before they called it.
Yeah.
And they just couldn't do it. So
If any of you watch, the puddles on the infield were awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, or especially around third base and shortstop, I was like, why are they even out here?
Yeah.
Like, if I was making tens of millions of dollars, I'm not stepping foot on that baseball field.
Yeah.
No.
So dangerous.
And the other thing too is I've never seen so much quick dry in my whole life.
Yeah.
Like that was
Dude,
a
I'm rich now. I
truckload
bought
of quick
stock.
dry.
I bought stock last night in quick dry, and now I'm rich.
And these poor grounds crews guys, they were out there during the rain delay, like they were lifting up the tarp to like work on home plate, work on the baselines, like try to salvage as much as they could. And the fans were frustrated and started booing those guys late in this whole debacle. And those guys got a lot of crap that they didn't deserve. But ultimately, it was, I think that the managers didn't want to play. They knew they didn't want to play, and they waited just entirely too long to make a call.
It was handled poorly.
Yeah. I mean, we had 2 hours rain delay, 7 o'clock the tarp comes off. So like we said, probably should have just pushed it off to a 7:05.
And we're all excited. Like the fans are cheering. Like people go back to their seats.
We get back to our seats about 7:10, and we sit there, and we sit there. We sit there some more, and it's like 8:30, and we look at each other, and we're like, they're not playing.
They
There's
can't.
no way.
At this point, they can't.
Yeah. Martinez and Showalter came out at about 8 and checked the field, and then we didn't see any players come out. And we're like, all right, they're definitely not going.
And then we saw the 2 bullpen catchers get all their Mets gear from the Mets bullpen and bring it in. Then we were like, all right. I mean,
mind you, we hadn't heard a thing from the Nationals being like, hey, we're like talking to MLB, we're seeing what we can do.
Harrison and I were stalking their like Twitter account, like thinking maybe there'd be like an update on Twitter or something. There was absolutely nothing.
And the irony of it was the couple of updates we did get were from the Mets. It was SNY providing updates to their fans that we were then reading. And we're sitting in the ballpark. There's been no announcements, no updates, no nothing. Like we're all just sitting there in the dark.
And then it was 9 o'clock. They finally got the official word that it was going to be split admittance today, which throws a whole other wrench. It's Mother's Day. People have plans, and they change the game times, and they're ushering everybody out of the ballpark and then back in. When usually, your ticket is good for both games of a doubleheader, but they're pulling everybody out of the stadium to just get in line to come back in if you're coming for the second.
Right. So the game from yesterday is being picked up at 12:35 today,
which they have to do.
Exactly. They have
that's to like they if you pick up a postponed game, it has to start before the next game. So they're kind of in a bind with that. And I was reading some stuff on Twitter this morning, and I think from what I was reading, that is likely what the cause of such a long decision was last night. Was they were probably in communication with Major League Baseball, being like, "Is this allowed? Like, this is what we want to do. Can we do it?"
Yeah. Right.
So, I mean, maybe we give them like 1% of a break on that, but it's like, you just got to let us know.
Yeah.
I mean, just let people know what's going on.
Exactly. So the game will be resumed at 12:35 today. The originally scheduled 1:05 game for today gets pushed off to 4:05.
4:30.
I guess 4:35. And so they've got to finish this game, empty the ballpark, let the next wave of people in to start the second game. And they'll open the gates basically as soon as they can for the 4:35 game, let people in to get seated for a 4:35 start. Thankfully, we've got tickets to both. We actually have to leave the ballpark, stand outside for a little while, and then come back in with new tickets to watch again. So it's an interesting day, and the Nationals are getting blown up on Twitter and everything because, of course, it's Mother's Day, and you've pushed yesterday's game to today that people can't make it back to, and then you've pushed the 1 o'clock game to 4 o'clock, so people had dinner plans, now you've screwed up the dinner plans, and the Nationals are getting fried from all angles, and they deserve most of it because this was really poorly managed. But at the same time, like, they can't control the rain. They also can't control the day after his Mother's Day. So, like, I get that they're working with some limited options, but I've never in my whole life have I seen a rain delay go on that long with no updates and no plan whatsoever.
I think that's the most frustrating part of it was there was zero fan acknowledgement. Like, it was like we weren't even there. Yep. Like, the consumer, we're buying your product and there's no communication. We just sat there literally with our thumbs up our butts for 4 hours. Yeah. And we didn't hear a peep until it was like, okay, go home.
Well, figuratively.
Yeah, we weren't actually.
Right, we weren't actually.
I mean, I know I was, and I'm not sure what you guys are doing. But and what was interesting too is that so we get to like 7:30, and like I'm starving, and like I'm starting to walk the concessions, and they're all pulling the metal walls down and closing, and I'm like, well, geez, I can still buy beer, but I can't buy food anywhere.
Right.
Like, this is going to get really ugly shortly if we can't buy any food. Thankfully, I was able to find a hot dog down the behind home plate. But it was crazy to think that like they're literally shutting the ballpark down and they still aren't telling us anything that's going on.
Crazy.
But in the meantime, I can only imagine what they made in terms of concessions for all the beer and snacks we consumed during a 4-hour rain delay.
We heard people there saying it's multiple times this year that this has happened with Washington. So it's only May.
I know.
Yeah.
And this is at least the second time this year that this has happened to those fans. It's like, that's not a good look, man.
No.
Not a good look.
When your organization's already trying to pull themselves out of the garbage heap.
Yeah.
From 2019, right? They're all in on 2019 to win that World Series, and they're paying for it hard.
Yeah.
And they're just poorly run at this point.
They went for broke, and they're broke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like that's where they're
at. So today, the second game, we do get to see Max Scherzer.
Yes.
So we're wicked pumped for that.
Yeah.
I don't know who's going for Washington. Probably, again, another guy
We don't know.
we haven't heard of.
Is that Irvin?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Cole Irvin's
Yeah.
pitching. So, yeah, we haven't heard of him.
And the 12:35 game is probably going to be a bullpen game, which is going to make it really
I would
interesting for
certainly
4:35 because
Yeah.
where you're going back to back here, and you've got to start from the
Jake
third
Irvin.
inning with bullpen arms.
Jake Irvin.
Jake Irvin.
So this will be interesting to watch these managers navigate the pitching today, where they've got to burn up bullpen arms in the first game, then come right back behind it.
Yeah.
With the second game.
Well, it's going to be interesting, too, because it's not like, at least on the Mets' point of view, Max hasn't exactly been,
No.
Max Scherzer.
deep in the rotation Danny here. I mean,
Right.
he's been a guy
He's not.
that's really, you've had to go to the bullpen pretty early, so it's going to be interesting to see how they handle the bullpen in the first game.
Yep.
To give them so, or do we just say, hey, if Max doesn't have it tonight, he just goes.
Well, yeah,
Right? He just eats innings. He
This
just
might be one of
goes.
those nights. It's like Max, you got to give us 5 or 6. I don't care what you got for stuff.
Right, you just got to go.
You got to give us
just
5 or
gotta
6.
go.
Yeah.
Curious.
This is where the experience of a guy like Buck Showalter pays off because he'll know how to navigate that.
One would think.
Martinez has proven to be a good manager at times, but I don't think he's at Buck Showalter's level by any stretch of the imagination. So you got a bit of a chess match here with a couple of managers who I think are very different in terms of ability, and also in terms of depth. I mean, Buck's working from strength, and Davey Martinez is not.
Sure.
Is not.
So they left off. Was it the Nationals still up or was it tied?
No. It's 1-0 Nationals.
1-0 now.
Top of the third.
And then
Guys on second and third for the Mets, no ups.
Yeah, that's right. But I mean, we knew they were in trouble with the rain when the outfielders couldn't even throw the ball in at even half speed.
Right.
Well, we
right.
saw Lucchesi throw a couple of pitches right to the backstop. He couldn't get a grip on the baseball. So I mean, they were running fresh rosin bags out every 3 or 4 batters because they were getting soaked behind the mound. It was just, it was a disaster. And we were saying from 2 o'clock on, they should just push the first pitch to 7 o'clock. They didn't. Here we are.
And I understand they had a 1 o'clock game for Sunday, so you don't want to play a game starting at 7, get over at 10. Guys get back late, then they have to be at the ballpark. I get all that. I get it's not ideal, but these guys are professionals.
Yeah, Doug is saying Patrick Corbin. Not sure if we found that.
For what?
Yeah, you saying Patrick Corbin is pitching today, Doug? So I don't think we saw last that they released anything. But
I mean,
maybe he's coming in to
he might-
start
yeah, he
for
might-
the Nationals.
Oh, maybe
in
he's
the
gonna
first
start.
game.
I mean, Jake Irvin is listed as the second game starter.
So maybe Corbin's coming in
Maybe.
the third.
Maybe they're going to treat him. Maybe
Maybe
he
he
picks up
comes
the
up.
resumed game.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah,
That could be possible.
because unfortunately, was it Abrams that pitched last night? Was the starter's name?
Trevor Williams.
Trevor Williams, not Abrams. Abrams is in the field. He was pitching pretty well up to the point they stopped that game.
But I mean, Nationals Park is nice, but it definitely left a pretty sour taste in my mouth just from the lack of communication to the consumers, us. We're spending $100 to $200 a piece in there on food and beer, expecting a game. We haven't heard anything, and then they just tell us to go home and, but you can come back and spend another $200 tomorrow with,
Yeah. Well,
it's just crazy.
and what I found interesting too as a first timer is that we get to Baltimore. My first time there, I'm walking around, and at the top of each section there's an usher, and the ushers are like, "Hey, how you doing? Do you need help finding your seat?" It's like, "Oh no, I'm good. I'm just walking around." Okay, cool. Do your thing. And we're walking down, we're right on the field. We saw McCutcheon, and we saw a bunch of guys down there, and the ushers the whole time are super friendly. Not bothering us at all. We get to Washington, and during the rain delay, I'm walking the stadium and I'm checking out the views from different sections, and I got ushers. You got a ticket for this area? No, I'm just looking. Well, you can't come down here. And I'm like, all right. The vibe of Baltimore was way more friendly.
Yeah.
Nationals Park, although there's probably 10,000 people there, they were very much. I would say it was not friendly to us. It was more like, if you don't have a ticket, stay the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Go buy your concessions. Stay out of an area that you don't belong in. And there were empty seats undercover all over the place. And they were not going to let us go down there. I mean, we we've got bleacher seats for the second game, so we want to get a different view. First game, we got field box seats, 4 rows off the field, like great tickets, but not when it's raining.
Right.
And we're trying to just go find cover, and they were kind of giving us a hard time with where we were standing, and if we're blocking a walkway or blocking a path or whatever. Like it was certainly not as friendly as Baltimore was.
Yeah. I came out and took a picture at Camden Yards. Like I just came right out of the concourse, took a picture, and the usher's like, "What are you doing? Like you can go right down to the field." And I go, "I'm sorry, what?" She's like, "Yeah, just go down to the field and take pictures." I was like, I've never had that before.
Yeah.
I was like, at Fenway, I do that. I get dragged out. Like,
yeah.
It's just,
well,
it was cool.
We were talking to that guy who was there with his kids.
Yeah.
And, he thought of how cool it was. The kids were getting down there, getting autographs. And then we were like, well, geez, where we come from at Fenway Park, we're not allowed to do this. Like, if you don't have tickets in that section, they're chasing you out of there.
Yeah.
Whereas in Baltimore, they're like inviting you down to go stand there and watch batting practice and get autographs and talk to the players. So I will definitely say Baltimore might be the most friendly ballpark I've been to in terms of them actually letting you do what you want to do, see what you want to see, and help you out.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. That place is
stunning.
It's amazing.
It was so cool. Left field wall looks weird.
That is
they kind of
where they
jetted it
cut it
out
back.
and but so kind of going back to that Baltimore game, Connor Joe hits one. So where we were sitting like right on the left field box again there, and Connor Joe for the Pirates hits one right down the line over the foul pole, and from where we were sitting,
impossible to tell.
It was way impossible to tell. Obviously, it looked foul for us, but either way, the ball was tagged.
It was way over the foul pole and slicing.
All of the Orioles fans that were sitting back there, none of them were like, "Oh, it was foul." Like they all like put their heads down. So that was a pretty good indication that it was probably fair, but like it was impossible for us to tell.
Yeah.
All I know is that ball came off the bat at 600 miles an hour. That ball was smoked.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Smoked.
It was amazing, and that thing came off the bat. It was the sound was different, the flight was different. We all just
we got back to the hotel and I had to rewatch from like the camera, and it was just to me it looked like a changeup that just hung inside, and boy did he clean it out.
We were all sitting there going, because that was crushed. It was crushed. And really, up to that point, there hadn't been a lot of excitement in that game. I mean, Mullins had hit a triple earlier, which was exciting, and we saw a couple of doubles from the Orioles that drove in some runs, but like there hadn't been like that big moment yet.
Right.
And Connor Joe with that bomb, and it kind of changed the whole tone of the rest of that game.
Yeah. Then the Orioles just poured it on. Like Rushman had an RBI double, then Mullins cleans it up with that home run to end this, to finish the cycle. That game was just wicked exciting to be a part of. It was really cool.
And it was really cool the inning after he hit for the cycle. When they took the field, all the players stood back. Mullins took the field by himself, got a standing ovation, waved his hat, which was cool. It was nice to give him that moment in the game. And boy, did the fans give him a warm ovation. Those Orioles fans, they're coming out. They're excited. They love this team. And I think for the first time in a long time, like you can see that the players, the whole community, like they're happy to be Orioles fans again because they've had nothing to root for a lot of years.
Yeah, I mean, we got a little bit of drama in the top of the ninth too, right? I mean, Pittsburgh didn't go quietly.
They didn't,
right?
It's a young
and they
team
brought in
fighting.
who was the guy that Baltimore brought in?
Batista?
No,
it was Austin Voth.
Voth.
Well, yeah,
I was
Voth.
gonna say, I knew it started with a V. And he did not look good.
No,
couldn't find the zone, and when he did, Pittsburgh was jumping all over him.
He threw like 7 straight balls.
They had first and third with no outs, and then they bring in Felix. Strikeout. I mean, it was something, man.
And he only hit 100 once, I think.
Know. It was something.
We had the Pirates fans behind us going, when he came in, like they got the lights going, the guy behind me goes, I'm guessing this guy throws pretty hard, huh? I said, oh, yeah. You're about to see it.
Pretty good.
His first pitch was like 98, and it was
just good
from there on out.
We were hoping to see Yanir Cano in person.
So was I.
But it was Batista. But either way, I mean, watching him was pretty electric.
Yeah.
First and third, and those guys didn't move off those bases once he was in there. Yeah.
That Pirates team has won one of their last 11 games. Like, they're scuffling hard. They're kind of coming back to reality like we thought they would. But that team, they fought hard. They play hard. They're exciting. That was a great game to watch.
It was. It's a good team. I mean, we talked about they weren't going to win 100 games, but I think we had said probably 2 weeks ago it probably was. Can they take a small skid and stop it, or does it get off the rails? And I hope it doesn't get off the rails because I would love to watch Pittsburgh play meaningful games in September. You know what I mean? Like I would love for the situation to be late August, early September. Pittsburgh Pirates win a series, make the playoffs. Like that's what I want to see. I hope it doesn't come off the rails. they're a good team. They got talented players. The pitching staff's good. It's a shame that from the Pirates' point of view, they wasted that start from Oviedo because he was awesome.
Really good. Yeah,
he was sharp. He scattered a couple of hits earlier in the game. Certainly didn't have command issues and it's a shame they kind of wasted that start.
Yeah,
because he looked really good.
He did.
They got to put a stop to it. You got to come out and win a series. Win a series, stop the bleeding.
They just got to bring up Drew Maggi, and the curse will be over.
Seriously,
they've lost 9 out of 10 since they sent Drew Maggi back down to AA.
True. Well, so two things. One is the reaction we all had when Oviedo walked by going out to the bullpen. That is an enormous human being.
That redwoods for trees.
His legs were like as thick as Sean. Like they were massive. And secondly, and you guys were talking about this a lot, and I didn't notice till later in the game, McCutchen had a miserable day at the plate. Miserable day at the plate.
Yeah, I pointed it out. It was like his second AB, and we were down the third baseline, and he was looking at us after every swing, and I was like, dude, he's just yanking his head.
His first 2 strikeouts were backwards K. That's not McCutchen. I mean, he is an aggressive hitter. He's a guy that goes out there swinging the bat. Like, he's going to strike out, but typically he's going to be swinging. Having back-to-back at-bats of looking Ks, not great. But, I mean, he's an all-star. I mean, he's an all-pro. I mean, for Christ's sakes, he'll be fine. But that was tough. I would have loved to see a guy like him in person have a night. But
before the game, pregame, I know the last couple of weeks we've been wondering about John Means and when he's coming back, but he was actually on field level with the team.
That was him?
I'm pretty sure that was him. I don't know who else would be standing there in a Means jersey.
I mean, John Means is a pretty popular player.
But talking to another Pirates, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I don't know. I'd love
I'll
to
have to look at a picture.
I'd love to see
I'm pretty sure that was him. But so I mean, if he's around the team, then he could be a couple months away. You know, he's with the team doctors. He's getting his treatment. Starting his forms. But
I think we'd all love to see him come back. That'd be a big addition for the Orioles, especially for. Although I will say, I was really impressed by Bradish in that start. He was, I mean, as much as McCutchen struggled, like Bradish was changing speeds on him, and one of those backwards looking Ks was like 97, up in the inner part of the strike zone. Like he was bringing it when he had to. He does 5 strikeouts by the third inning to hit that parlay. He was mowing them down. So I will say, as much as the Pirates' offense did struggle at times, McCutchen struggled at times. Bradish was really good, and except for really kind of that blip from the bullpen, they were pretty good the whole time too. I mean, the Pirates never really mounted any major pressure until the 9th, and that was quickly shut down.
Yeah, it was a great game. But all right, anything else about this weekend? I mean, obviously we have today's games that we haven't really got a recap on yet because they haven't happened. But
no, just the Sox losing to the St. Louis. Not a great start. Back in 5th place. It's all right. Win a game today. Stop the bleeding. Get back to winning. I mean, the Sox, they're winning series. They're not really sweeping anyone, but they're winning 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 4. Whatever, and that just keep pace. I mean, we've talked about it from the beginning, and it's probably going to be a theme for us throughout the year. But the AL East is a dogfight, so just keep pace. Don't fall too far back. Hopefully you can get a couple of bounces, but. Obviously we weren't able to watch really much of those games other than just catch some highlights. Tough for Jansen to have 2 blown saves.
Oh, you get 400 and then you blow 2.
And then you blow 2. It certainly seems to me that maybe a couple of plays around him in the second game, right? I mean that Kike error in the 9th on the double play is a killer because that. I always tell listen, Kike doesn't. He knows. I mean, maybe he's a professional baseball player, but you can't get 2 outs until you get the first out. And it's okay to get the first out, but don't expound it. Don't make errors worse. I mean, and it's just making an error there is just an absolute, you can't have it. You just can't have an error in that moment. If you have to take your time and the throw is a little late and he beats it, so be it. He beats it. But to me, spike that ball in the dirt and it gets by Turner and then another run scores, it takes the lead. You just can't have it in that moment.
No,
you just can't have it.
And there's some talk that maybe if Cassis is out there, it's an easier pick. But when we watched the replay when we got back to the room, it was like, man, with the way Kike threw that, he threw it 10 feet in front of him. That could take a weird hop. I mean, there's no guarantee that Cassis gets that either. It wasn't like it was like a short hop that would be an easier scoop.
I mean,
like
the only
Turner was trying hard.
Like John Oldroot's the only guaranteed scoop there. I mean, that was a tough play.
It was a tough play. It was a
I'm also not sure that he's not safe.
Oh, that's true.
Even if that guy was closing down the line. I'm not so sure he would have been out. So I guess the point I'm making there is know the situation, right? Like I tell the JV kids all the time, like know the situation. Sometimes a situation allows you to take a chance. Sometimes it doesn't. And you have to understand and know the situation. And it's just a bad time for him to try to force that in there. And it came back to bite him.
I think the point that we've been talking about for the Sox is like right now, currently, the starting pitching isn't what's losing them ball games, which is what we're most concerned about with them going forward.
Yeah, at least these last 2 games.
Right,
like these last 2 games.
The first game against the Braves, you're down 5-0 after 2. That's on the starter. But the last couple games, starting pitching's been good, and they've lost them late, which has not been their trend.
Which happens.
Right, and I don't think it's their problem.
No,
it's not. I don't. I mean, it's and it sucks that it's happening to a team like that is so dysfunctional right now, like St. Louis. Like it kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Like it'd be one thing if you're blowing these to the Rays. It's like, well, shit, man. I mean, it's the Rays.
It's the Rays, right?
But it's like you're doing it to a scuffling 12-win team in St. Louis. Like that kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth. But it's not. They do have holes in the roster. The major holes are not what's losing them games right now. So I'm less inclined to panic.
Right.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like, listen, man, it's a long season. It's a lot of baseball to play. Sometimes you just don't get the bounces.
No,
I think you just got to fight your way through it.
These 2 games are a blip. Kenley Jansen has proven to be very reliable. The bullpen's proven to be very good.
Yeah.
The Sale was great yesterday. 8 innings, 1 run,
3 hits,
and they blow it. I mean, those games happen and they hurt. But I don't look at this as a trend. It's a blip, like we were talking about. It's good to see the starting pitching be good. It's a shame that they weren't able to do something with it, but they'll bounce back today. And if the starting pitching can continue to be what it's been, and these blips no longer happen, this could be a team to be reckoned with.
Who do we have going on tonight? Sorry,
I have no idea.
I have not looked yet.
Great radio. Oh, fucking Kluber.
Oh, jeez.
But they have Mikolas, who hasn't been much better.
Oh,
than Kluber,
like almost 60 ERA.
I might
2 guys that have been terrible.
We're gonna take the over on this one, boys.
Yeah, so this might be a 7-6, 8-6 game.
We're gonna take the over on this one.
But speaking of crazy starting pitchers, is Nathan Eovaldi is on a scoreless streak and just absolutely dominating. He pitches another, which is what we were kind of talking about, this weird 8 2/3 with 3 hits, 1 walk, 12 Ks.
Why do you pull him?
Why did you pull him? Unless it was a pitch count thing. I never checked the pitch count. But what's
agree.
4 more pitches at that point?
But I will follow Bruce Bochy to the gates of hell.
No, I'm with you for
if
sure.
Bruce Bochy decided that it was time to get his guy, go get him, Bruce.
I'm with
Bruce,
you. Yep. You do,
this dude knows what he's doing. So whatever the reasoning was, it made sense to Bruce, which means it makes sense to me.
If Dave Roberts does this, worst thing ever. Bruce Bochy does it, I'm thinking to myself, there's probably a reason.
All joking aside, yes.
100%.
All joking aside, he's fantastic.
If Aaron Boone does it, forget it.
He probably played it too. He's like, hey, I want to keep your scoreless inning intact. Let's get a fresh arm in here to get you this last out. Keep your scoreless. Like if you had runners on, hey, let's just bring in a fresh arm, get this last out, call it a day.
No, and I mean, I shouldn't say no because I don't know Nate Eovaldi on a personal level, but he couldn't have been happy. He's a bulldog. Yeah. Like, there's no way that guy's happy to come out with 2 outs in the ninth.
Yeah, no. Yeah, an interesting point here by Doug, too. 110 pitches for Sale showed his longevity, that he's actually building that stamina back up. And it's true. It was good to see Sale pitch well. It was good to see his pitch count up. To tie that back to Eovaldi, is that, this has kind of been Eovaldi's MO. He'll go through these stretches where he's, clearly the best guy in the league. He'll be absolutely lights out for, a month. And then he won't be again. And he'll be back to being kind of mediocre. He'll give up a bunch of runs. And then he'll be dominant again. Then he'll be mediocre. Then he's hurt. Then he's back. Eovaldi at times can be the best pitcher in baseball. He just can't consistently be that guy, which I know is hard.
Which is why Nate Eovaldi's best years, Nate Eovaldi's most, how should I put this? Because I don't know, statistically, I'm not going to say statistically his best years, but the years where he has the biggest impact on his teams are when he's a number 2 or a number 3 starter.
Yes.
Right? Because of, the 2018 World Series, right? You had dominant Sale.
Absolutely.
Sale was your number 1.
Clearly.
And then all of a sudden Nate comes in as number 2, and it's we got something cooking here.
Yep.
Right? In Texas, I know DeGrom's hurt, but he's not Nate's not the featured guy in this rotation.
He's a
the
really
number 2 guy.
dangerous lieutenant.
So it's like when it's not all on him, and I think the problem with him is there are times he's just a little too inconsistent with missing spots.
Yeah.
And he just sometimes will just get a lot of the plate.
Yeah.
And he has some really good stuff, but it's not a heavy ball. He can get knocked around if he misses his spots. So, you take the good with the bad, but boy, the good is good.
Well, it's like we talked about when there's a big game or a postseason moment and you need a guy that's going to go really bulldog it and gut it out for you. There's few guys in baseball better than Eovaldi. Like that guy, you give that guy the ball in a big game and he won't give it back. He'll give you everything he's got, even when he's got nothing.
John Lester.
Yep.
John Lester was that guy.
Yep. They just bulldog your way through a game. Kurt Schilling, I mean, same kind of.
Yeah.
And I look at Eovaldi in 18. Sale was Pedro. Eovaldi was Kurt Schilling. And that's exactly how it works. Sale got all the headlines. Eovaldi did all the dirty work and won all the big games.
Yeah.
Sean mentioned it, but DeGrom is out another 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah. So is this a forearm or elbow? What was it?
I don't even.
That was forearm tightness.
Yeah.
I think
Okay, tightness.
Mm-hmm.
Which.
But I can't keep up with his damn injuries, so I
no,
don't know which one.
Well, forearm tightness is always code for it could be wrist, elbow. It's somewhere in here.
Well, let me see now.
It's muscle, which is always unpredictable.
But I mean, that dude just can't.
Oh no, this one now says elbow.
Oh crap! Yeah, you don't want to hear elbow.
Rangers Jacob DeGrom gets concerning updated timetable on elbow injury.
Oh crap! All right, yeah, you don't. You never want to hear.
But now they call it elbow inflammation. So
geez.
Baseball needs to have if it's elbow inflammation, say elbow inflammation.
Right.
Elbow injury makes it sound like like surgery.
As a baseball fan, you hear elbow injury and you panic because shoulder and elbow are the two most important parts of the arm. If one of those goes, you got nothing.
Yep. UCL and labrum.
And when you hear elbow, you think Tommy John.
Yep.
Well, that's what I also think when I hear forearm tightness too.
Agreed.
So that's
because you're talking muscle through here, which is
A couple other things that the Oakland A's have reached a deal with Vegas, so a move is it's done. It's pretty much set in stone. It's just the timetables of when that happens and when the move happens.
And you were saying they're actually gonna tear down an existing.
Yeah, I saw an article that said the Tropicana is coming down.
I saw that,
and that's where they're building the ballpark, so it will be on the strip.
So they're gonna knock an old casino down and put a ballpark on top.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah.
Which kind of like we've seen with Camden Yards and Nationals, you can build it now right into the strip, right off the street.
Yeah.
Like people just kind of wander in like it's anything else and check out a game.
Yeah, so that'd be crazy. So, Then the Mets and the Phillies are set to play in London in 2024. So we'll have Mexico City game, also the London, and then I also saw a report that they wanted the Yankees and Red Sox to play in Paris. That got shut down.
Oh, interesting.
So I don't know too much details on that, but the MLB is really trying to start to go global now.
I mean, if you want to go global as MLB, you should be playing games in Japan. Or
I agree. Which I think they are. South Korea is actually on the docket for next year.
Because you've got a pretty rabid fan base. As we saw at WBC, that's a pretty rabid fan base. They have.
There's like the Sox in Oakland opened up there.
It's been a while since they've been back. But they should think about putting them back on the schedule because that fan base out there, especially with Shohei and Yoshida and all these guys that have come over, like that fan base loves baseball.
Okay, so real just to bring it back to DeGrom, because I was curious, so I looked it up. I know he got lit up in that first start, right?
He did.
Against, was it Baltimore that lit him up in his first start?
I think so.
Philly.
Oh, that's right. It was Philly. You're right.
They opened up Philly.
Yeah, that's right.
So the ERA is 2.67, which is high for Jake. Which
that's
is
like
crazy.
Twice what it usually is.
That's high for him.
Yeah.
He's thrown 30.1 innings. He has 45 strikeouts. He has 4 walks and a WHIP of 0.76.
Yeah, he's when he's healthy, he's still Jacob DeGrom.
It's disgusting.
His numbers are filthy. Like they're video game numbers.
That's crazy.
It's mind numbing.
But yeah, I think ever since they're definitely the MLB's riding this WBC wave as they should.
Yep.
And really trying to stretch the game out globally. I don't think it'll ever reach the popularity of soccer, but it's a step in the right direction. It's getting there. I mean, the Latin American countries are already there. We've seen their fan bases go nuts. Japan's fan bases, what was it? Japan's final, it was like 99.4% of the households were
it was like everybody
were tuned into that final. Like, that's insane. So, I think growing baseball globally is only going to bring more talent to to the MLB, throughout the years.
Yeah, I think Doug's suggesting our next road trip. He says if you can get to a London game, do it.
Dude, that'd be sick.
He went to the Sox-Yankees series in London, said it was amazing. But what I find interesting is that you think of Europe, and what's big in Europe? It's football, soccer, it's cricket, like it's games like that. We keep trying to bring baseball to them, and it just doesn't stick. So it's almost like, at what point do you say, okay, like Europe's Europe, but let's go to the places that want baseball. Let's play more games in South America and Japan and the Caribbean area. Like, how do we continue to bring baseball to the markets that want it versus the markets we're almost trying to like force feed it to that don't necessarily want it?
Yeah, no, it's fair. I mean, I'm not going to pretend to know the business side of it. I'm sure everything's driven by money.
Oh,
I'm sure they've run their calculations and say that if you can get X amount of ball games in London, Paris, Germany, whatever, it's going to equal Y amount of dollars.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Versus you have to play twice as many games in Japan to get the same amount of money. Like, I mean, I'm sure I'm oversimplifying it, but I'm sure that's kind of the basis behind it. But I do not disagree. We're not the right people to, because I don't care where it's played at what time I'll watch it.
Exactly.
It's like, I don't care, man.
I was watching WBC games at 5 a.m. and 11 p.m.
Honestly, like the Sox Yankees in London, I watched every inning of that. Like, I don't care where they play it. So I'm not exactly the right guy that we're talking to, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's fair. We got to make sure we bring up the City Connect jerseys for Cincinnati, though.
Oh, yes. That's right. I forgot about that. If you haven't seen these things are
fire.
Yeah. They're probably 1B for me. I think the Mariners still kind of creep on top for me. But these Cincinnati ones are hot. They're absolute fire.
I've made my peace. I don't love black pants. I think they look too softball uniformy.
They do.
But I've made my peace with the fact that they're kind of just going to be that way for these City Connects, and I'm okay with it, I guess. Cincinnati's are nice, though.
They are.
Like, I like Cincinnati's. I'll go to my grave saying they look like softball uniforms, but still.
They do.
But they work, right? Cincinnati made them work, and they
do.
Work.
Yeah. Well, it's like Texas, too. Like, I didn't love Texas at first because I thought they kind of missed on tying in the history.
Yeah.
Then when they explained what they did, I'm like, okay, like, I get it and I like it. It's not my favorite uniform. These Cincy ones are fire. And then what was that? Was it the Nippon Ham Fighters that released new uniforms too?
Yeah,
they look like superheroes with like multicolored pants, and they look like they should be like Marvel superheroes in those uniforms.
They were pretty bad.
They're interesting for sure. They're going to get attention, but they're strange looking uniforms.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's almost like their own version of City Connect, trying to tie in multiple colors and stuff like that. So it was interesting, but
yeah. I don't have anything else on my list. You guys have anything else to kind of follow up on?
I don't
No,
think so.
I mean it was a good week in baseball for folks that were following along. It's been we've had a great weekend except for this Nats debacle, but we'll get 2 games in
Even
today.
still, man, I mean, like, we can say all that. Like, we can say, like, I mean, we had a great time. I mean, we sat for 4 hours at a ballpark, and we didn't get to watch baseball, but like,
we were watching the Toronto Atlanta game, and we were talking to other fans.
Crushed a few beers. Yeah. I mean, it was fun. I mean,
it was still fun. There was no baseball.
All things considered.
Yeah.
But I feel like, so we were at the Cedric Mullins cycle game, which got a lot of headlines.
Mm-hmm.
We were at the Nats Rain Delay, which got a lot of headlines.
What's coming up today?
That's right. We've had a lot of interesting stuff on this trip, but it's been a great trip. A couple of great ballparks.
Yeah.
We should see some great baseball today.
Yeah.
So we won't be on tomorrow night. We're just gonna,
Oh, that's right. Today's Sunday.
Yeah, today's Sunday.
Shit.
Yeah, and by the way, happy Mother's Day to all the
mothers.
mothers.
Happy Mother's Day.
Absolutely.
And if you have a mother, make sure you take care of her.
Indeed.
So we won't be on tomorrow. Tomorrow night we'll just go a full week, and we'll see you guys next Monday. But we'll also, obviously recap these couple games that we were in, and recap the week for next week. Keep your eye out on the page for more pictures. I'm sure we'll be posting videos.
Yep.
We'll throw out a question of the week at some point next week, and we will see y'all next Monday at 8 p.m.
Yeah, thanks for following along on the road trip.
Indeed.
See ya.
See ya.